Surrender control, own who you are, and live in your passion. That feels like the message that I'm being called to take in today. I found myself really pushing for certain outcomes in my material life. For a while now, my husband and I have been wanting to create a bigger home life for ourselves. We have a beautiful house that we own, but it's quite small. It just feels like energetically and structurally, in terms of what we want to birth into our reality now, the bigger life that we want to create, the entrepreneurial dreams we have. We want to have more infrastructure that will support our bigger dreams for a bigger life. This was really the pandemic that inspired this thinking small, survival way of thinking, living really minimally. And while there's a place for that, and it did absolutely serve me at that time about 7 years ago, and I did end up with a tiny house, I ended up creating a very manageable life. I was able to live within my means very easily by living so small, despite what seemed like at the time were turbulent and unpredictable circumstances. It absolutely served for a time for some years. But as we've come out of the pandemic and that uncertainty for a lot of people, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, I found myself craving more, craving a bigger life, starting to think differently, wanting to shift into different work, which thankfully I have now. My husband's also shifting into different, more aligned work for himself as well. But that has been a process. I let go of my old career. I started a new career, which is becoming a YouTuber, having this channel, which I'm so grateful for, and so grateful for all of those who are listening consistently to this channel and find some value from it. I love being of service and I love being of value to you. So thank you so much for allowing me to be in my heart led mission by doing this and sharing this with you. So that is one of those arenas with the intention to expand and provide additional value in the future. It's not always easy to make a change. It can be very difficult, especially if we have a nervous system that has been historically quite dysregulated. It's always felt like too heavy, too risky to make a big shift in your life. And career is one of those ways that feels like a big shift for a lot of people. Another way that I've transformed is in the arena of health and wellness. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you will know that I was a little overweight. I wasn't really into fitness as much. I wasn't taking as good care of myself in terms of health and wellness and what I was eating. But there was a slow evolutionary desire and change over time that was happening behind the scenes, but it's only physically become more apparent in my visceral lived reality and experience in terms of what you're seeing on camera. In the last 6 months, I've been working out with a coach. I changed my diet, nutrition. I count my macros now. I'm doing resistance training 4 times a week. I'm also sunbathing and taking regular walks, meditating. That is something that has very much shifted my way of being, my way of feeling in the world, my ability to show up more and more with better presence for you on this channel. It's been a process, and there were a lot of things that came up for me along that journey, this weight loss journey and this getting more fit. There was a lot of determination and resilience that has had to go into this and staying steady and consistent. And I've had moments of being attached about the scale and my weight, and moments along that journey where my weight plateaued a little bit. I wasn't seeing such consistent results. Things just felt like they were stagnating. I didn't feel really strong. I actually got sick a couple times in the middle of that. I even had an inflamed eye issue for a little while. I think my body was releasing something that went on for 3 months. It was from January through April. It went on for quite a while. It was a swollen eye issue that I had. It was really bad in the morning and, quite frankly, very itchy and painful. So I had that happening. I think my body was releasing something. About a month and a half ago, I saw a functional medicine doctor who was able to prescribe some very helpful supplements, herbs, to release that and let that go. I think my daily meditation practice, which I've been very consistent with this year, has been very transformative too. And it's helped me to, when I find myself in these troughs of feeling more dysregulated and frustrated with like, why am I having this eye issue like I had a few months ago? Why is the scale stagnating right now when I'm putting in all this immense effort and work, going to the gym so much, walking every day, eating so healthy and light and eating enough protein and not eating too many carbs and fat? When you have those days and those weeks where you're trying, you're efforting a lot, but then somehow things don't seem to be shifting. What I realized in those times is that I had a lot of resistance. I had a lot of expectation and this entitlement to thinking, oh, this should, because I'm putting in all this effort, all this work, these things that I don't like in my reality, like the itchy, puffy, uncomfortable eye. Even right now, I have a little bit of congestion that I'm working through. I think it's more environmental than anything else, but it could also be a sign of my body continuing to clear something out, some energy cleaning out stuff that's been held in my system because of how much meditation I'm doing and how much I'm reminding myself to come back to myself and live with more intention and allow things to be. Surrender that controlling mechanism. I was brought up in a household where I was taught to basically be a straight A student, be a perfectionist, perform in a perfect way for my father. So I could be likable, lovable enough in that household. And that was also reflected back in the broader society I grew up in. I was expected to perform a certain very likable, people pleasing identity. And so that created that as a norm. And it's been something I've been working through for decades now. I'm in my 40s. So this is something I've been working on for a long time. It's important that when we find ourselves in these loops of trying to force outcomes, of pushing too hard, of being like, why isn't this thing shifting? Why isn't this outcome, this circumstance that I've done so much around? I feel like I've done everything. Like you probably have too, where you've thought, oh my God, I've done everything. Well, no, you haven't done everything, because if you had, something would have really shifted. That's just allowing yourself to stay stuck in that victim consciousness trap when you tell yourself, I've done everything. And maybe you've done a lot, but maybe the one thing you haven't done is surrender control. Allow yourself to take your foot off the gas pedal, that full force throttle of forcing and pushing for something to shift and change in your life and your reality. And instead of continuing to force and feel like a victim of the circumstance, just try doing the opposite of that. And I know it's really hard when you've built up this energy of frustration, resentment, anger, annoyance, feeling like you just deserve more because you have tried so hard. Legitimately, you feel like you really have tried so hard, and that may or may not be the case. But whatever the case is, it's important that when we do surrender, that we're surrendering for the right reasons, that we're surrendering not because we just want to get that outcome. It's very likely that it could if you surrender long enough and you learn the lesson that God, source consciousness, whatever you want to call it, this universal force that flows through all of us wants you to learn. There's usually some message of learning to trust the situation, the universe, and surrender. And that surrendering, that letting go, that allowing yourself to take your foot off the gas pedal. The universe heard you the first time about your desire. It's not like saying your desire and pushing and forcing for it 50 million times is going to bring about that desire. In fact, that creates more of an energy of resistance because you're putting so much negative, frustrated, sometimes resentful, angry, entitled energy at that particular outcome or circumstance that you're wanting so badly to shift that it backfires and it can keep you locked in that circumstance. It can deepen the circumstance, make it heavier, or it can just stagnate. Everything changes at some point, usually, because we do live in a very changeful universe where nothing is stable. But also, it may or may not change in the way that you want it to. Just remember that the universe, God, source consciousness, heard you the first time. You placed your order with the universe. And this is also not a message to become passive either. Somehow there's a balanced middle ground between passivity, which is putting your order with the universe and then not taking any action on it. Oh, yeah. Let's chill, man. Let it come to me kind of energy of not taking any action. And then the other polarity, the other extreme of taking too much action and acting very forceful and frustrated and pushing for things. There's a middle ground between complete overaction and complete inaction. There's a middle ground of being clear and intentional about what you want to create and knowing that's what you want to birth into your reality or something that you want to go move out of your reality and shift and change. Perhaps that's a relationship, perhaps it's a new job, that's the career of your dreams, that's a new house. And me and my husband's case, we're wanting more space. And there are moments where I find myself getting caught in this angry, frustrated energy of it's so small. I just need more space. I want things organized. I want things this way, that way. But that is something I've had to learn how to pull my energy back from and realize this isn't personal, A. This is past momentum because I legitimately was in a survival energy 6 years ago of wanting to downscale and minimize. So I did live in a bigger house that I rented back then and bought this house. As the first house I really owned and made it my own. But that said, we are ready for more space because that will make our life flow better and be more convenient. But there is a big lesson for me that I am meant to own in this example of surrendering, taking my hands off the forceful gas pedals and allowing, because I've already put in my order, I've already looked into different options. There have been some roadblocks that have come up, and I think that's probably due to both past momentum and the need to learn the lesson of patience and trust with the universe, plus some of my resistant energy that have come up. Like, we even found a house that we like, a 2-bedroom, 1,000 square foot thereabouts house that would work for us. It was more of a modular home, but a new and beautiful one. And that was something we were seriously considering, but we realized we had 2 tunnels that go to our land, and they're only like 13, 14 feet wide, and the house we like is 16 feet wide. So there's no way it could go through those tunnels. And that's like within a mile from our land, and there is no other route. We looked into alternative routes. So that is something we're having to table. And I think that was a sign from the universe that maybe this isn't the best option and the best time. House-wise, maybe we're meant to pull back and slow down and allow this to work itself out somehow. I'm not sure how. Or do a site-built home when the timing is better and more resources are there, because site builds are typically more expensive and time-consuming too. We were also feeling anxious to have that extra space sooner rather than later. But there is a lesson of patience here for both of us, and especially for me, because out of the 2 of us, I was the one that was feeling more impatient about it and more frustrated about it. I was in that forceful pushing energy for days, and I found myself over the last 5 days very recently being like, okay, you know what? There's nothing I can do about this right now. All the signs are saying this is just not the right time. This may not be the right house. Things may shift in a few months. We don't know. Both of us are also working on leveling up our businesses, our income. That is all a work in progress right now. So things may look very different in a few months. And we also may decide in the long term, maybe this is the universe looking out for us, that just wasn't the house for us, that there is a better option. And if we're patient a little while longer, things may shift for a better outcome and there won't be these other obstacles. Patience is the lesson for today. Trusting, learning how to shift and open up to a more trusting vibration with love and passion, and continuing to pursue what you earnestly love, what you are here to birth and do and be in this world. When you trust the universe, when you trust your soul's divine guidance and purpose, nothing is unachievable, really. You can have very lofty dreams, and if you stay persistent, you stay committed, you keep showing up and doing the work, and you're open to transforming your energies, because we are souls. We did incarnate to learn certain lessons in this lifetime. We came here to learn trust and patience. I can tell from what's come up in my life over the years and more recently that trust and patience are big lessons that I came here to learn, as well as forgiving the past. I feel more spacious around that this week. I've been doing some emotional freedom technique release work for now a couple months. I had done it in the past, but I stopped for a while and I've come back to it and been doing it a lot more consistently for the past few months. And I also feel like that has really shifted my energy, especially in terms of that feeling of lack and limitation, not feeling enough. That's one that I do that meditation on a lot, as well as fear and anxiety and resentment and anger, feeling entitled, feeling resentful, feeling angry about the past and my childhood, ancestral trauma, continuing to release and forgive. And it's not about saying anything to anyone. You're doing this work for yourself. You never have to worry about forgiving someone to their face who did you harm. This is not what that's about. This is more of that radical forgiveness work, which I've talked about with Colin Tipping in the past, that I've done a lot of work on. But that has been very helpful in terms of continuing to release these resentful energies about past experiences, issues with my family, issues with the broader world that I used to have, how the patriarchy affects us too, feeling stuck in life for so long because of how life was set up. I'm feeling a lot more free, a lot more forgiving in my heart, where I'm not focused on feeling any kind of real victimization of life. Even with this house circumstance, I had the moment of feeling angry and feeling like this shouldn't be happening. But I'm meant to slow down, take a step back, be grateful for what we have, learn the lesson of greater patience and greater trust that it's all working out for our highest and best good. Anytime those anxious thoughts of wanting to push and force around that comes up, I'm changing the channel. When something comes up that you find yourself fixated on, or that you've wanted to force or push or be anxious around, the best thing you can do in that moment is just change the channel, go do something else, go focus on something else that's going to help you get out of your mind, out of obsessing about whatever that thing is, because everything shifts in its own time and way. When we have a should in our mind and we're attached to a should, like this should be different for me, for us, because I've already done so much and I've already sacrificed and I've had such a tough life, whatever that reason is, that is a sign that you are very much still in an egoic victim consciousness state, and you're attached to that state, and you're not allowing yourself to release that, and you're creating your own suffering, and you're actually creating more resistance around the thing you want. The best thing you can do in that circumstance is change the station, change the channel, and focus on doing something productive in an area of your life that you can. So I've just been focusing more on my fitness. I'd go for a walk, meditate, do something creative, a fun creative activity, even just fold the laundry and listen to your favorite playlist and start dancing, go to the gym. Just get out of your old rut, whatever rut of habitual loop patterns that you're thinking in. Get out of that rut, that thinking loop, and move into a vibration of feeling more present and whole and complete and grateful for the current moment you're in by doing something that feeds your soul. This is very much an active process of deciding my peace, my health, my well being, my sense of feeling good, because it is a choice. You are choosing to allow yourself to keep looping and thinking about that same thing obsessively, that thing that you're dissatisfied with, and that creates more of the same feeling of dissatisfaction, feeling like life owes you something, that victimization. So change the station, go do something that's fulfilling, cloud gazing, or go get a gelato with a friend. And don't talk about that issue. You're switching the channel and you want to talk about something that is more upbeat. It'll help you feel more like, oh, actually, I do feel better. And maybe if I just give this issue, this thing I'm turning into a big issue, some space, I allow some time and space around it, because right now there's all this resistance. There's signs that the universe is saying, this is not ready to move yet. This is not ready to shift for you yet. So the best thing you can do is go change the station, start thinking in a different train of thought, play some Madonna, whatever makes you happy. For stuff from the 80s, it lifts me up out of whatever low mood I found myself in. And I find myself dancing to it and feeling like it's all going to work out. And I'm able to just move on with my day in a much more productive, positive way and actually do the things I intended to do. All my workout stuff, recording, working on my course, getting the laundry folded, the dishes, all the day-to-day things. You can do that from a higher vibrational, happy, lighthearted way. You can check in with a friend. You can go get some ice cream. You can go liven up your day. If you can keep training your brain to change the station on that old program that is draining your energy, making you feel low and tired and a bit hopeless or like a victim. We make up all these stories and interpretations that life is doing something to us, but life isn't really doing something to us. Life is doing for us. Life is providing us with opportunities to heal certain parts of our shadow. We incarnated into this 3D human earthly reality to release certain parts of this personality of our shadow self, our egoic shadow self, that are misaligned with our deeper passions and our heart mind coherence, our soul led, joyful, creative passions that we came here to birth into this life in beautiful ways. So if you're in some kind of a funky loop right now, if you're finding yourself dwelling too much on something that you're dissatisfied with or that seems difficult and is taking more time than you would like, just take your mind off of that thing for a while. At least challenge yourself to take your mind off of it for a few days at minimum. You can always come back to it, pick it up again. But I also encourage you, when you do pick it up, try to pick it up with less of that same energy that you were going at it before. Try to be more spacious around it. It usually becomes a lot easier when you create some gaps between you and that thing that you were anxious about or that you were trying to force and push for. The more you take steps back away from that thing that you really want to shift, and you're out of that energy of desperation or victim consciousness or force, the more that you're out of that energy of pushing and forcing and obsessing or feeling like a victim of a circumstance, and you allow yourself to focus on other things that are more productive, that raise your vibration, raise your energy, allow you to feel better, lighter within your soul, alive, spirit, and that feel good and feel healthy for you. And you take more space from that thing and you can allow that to be as it is. Then when you do come back to it in however many days or weeks or years, you will have this lighter energy around it. You will be able to pick it up a little bit differently, a little bit lighter each time that you do pick it up, instead of continuing to force in that same vein, continuing to feel frustrated, which keeps your energy low, which keeps you feeling more depleted, more stuck, less motivated. It can lead to burnout and just wanting to give up at times, feeling really depressed. And so there are other things you can work on that you're going to feel good about, that's going to lift your energy. Maybe that's starting with a fitness routine. If you can't manifest the relationship of your dreams right now and you've had a lot of disappointing dating situations, I can relate to that because years ago that was my circumstance too. Until I met my husband, I was too attached to manifesting and creating a relationship at the time, about a decade ago, but I was very attached and I felt tight around that. And I felt like, oh, there's no good ones out there. And it really took calling back my energy and making my peace with, I actually don't know if I'm ever going to call into my reality a really, truly loving relationship, a real solid person, a real solid guy who's here for me and is a really good partner. And now I have that in my reality, but it did take me moving into a space of not expecting that anymore. I did move into a space of taking my foot off the gas pedal there and just being like, I'm just going to relax and chill and just have fun. And I'll go on dates. But if something doesn't feel right, I'm just going to, nope, that's it. Just be relaxed about this and cast my net, but without so much force or effort or trying to get that person, the right person, and letting go of any sense of biological clock and this time limitation, that constricted limitation that we tend to feel, especially for a little older when we're dating 30s or 40s or 50s. I did let that go, and the right person came into my reality in the right amount of time and not a moment sooner. So this does apply to every area of your life. Right now, the home example is the most prevalent for me and my husband, but that will shift too in its own beautiful divine timing. And so will whatever area that you're wanting to shift. But use that as an opportunity to work on something else in your life that you actually have some control over, that you don't feel really frustrated by. Work on what you can that's more easy for you to do. Maybe that's just going for a walk every day. Maybe that's taking up a meditation practice, a breath work practice. Maybe that's going to a yoga class a couple times a week. It's doing something good for yourself, leveling up your skincare routine, going to the gym, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's boosting up your savings. If you have a habit of spending a lot every month on unnecessary things to fill a void, if you have that habit, then that is something that you can actually take some control over and start assigning a certain amount of your money each month, right? When you get your paycheck, that you're automatically putting into a savings account, or you're putting into a Roth IRA, or you're just investing, putting it somewhere besides shopping. You're putting it into something that matters to you, that you're going to feel good about and be proud of yourself now and later on down the line for making that choice to save that money or to reinvest that money in a wise, intentional way. So there's always an opportunity to shift your energy no matter what your circumstance is. I know that's easier said than done. I've been in some very low vibrational states, feeling pretty hopeless, feeling lost, feeling worthless, feeling exhausted and drained from efforting, from trying too hard to make things happen, from feeling like a victim of life. And that just created more of the same for me. It created more disappointing circumstances, more resistance. If that's the case for you, then there's no better time like the present to take your energy back, take back your power, and do something beautiful and kind and loving for yourself, something that is within your control, that just simply feels good and feels like, okay, you know what? It's not so bleak, that allows you to shift out of that low vibrational, frustrated victim consciousness into a higher vibration of feeling more empowered, feeling at least I have control in this one area because I'm showing up for myself by walking every day, or by going to this yoga class, or by eating healthier more consistently, whatever that thing is for you. This is a great opportunity to shift that energy, do something beautiful for yourself. Listen to some music that puts you in the flow, that inspires you and allows you to start feeling more creative and going after the things you really want in this life. So I'm wishing you all the best, wishing you a blessed and beautiful day, and that you're able to shift your energy out of whatever funk you may be in. I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you probably are in some kind of a funky state right now, or a state where you're feeling disempowered or exhausted and depleted. Just know that you can absolutely change that. You have the power to change your reality, but you also need to learn the lesson of patience and trust in the universe, and allow the universe to start working for you, and take back that pushing energy and be like, I don't need to push. I don't need to force. I can relax and take care of myself and learn how to be more patient and trust that everything is working out. You just need to have the faith of a mustard seed. I've heard podcasters talk about you just need the faith of a mustard seed. That's kind of a faith-based idea, but really you just need the faith of a mustard seed in order for things to shift and change. I'm trusting that they will with this house situation. It's a matter of time and patience, and being more in my passion and my love, and continuing to take consistent aligned action on those beautiful things that matter to me, which is being here, showing up for you on this channel, and my fitness practice that I've talked about and that I love and am grateful for. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this message resonated with you and supported you today. All the best. Peace and love.